we'll get going. So welcome everyone, welcome to Consultants Table. Welcome to Adele, our regular Consultants Table presenter. Thank you everyone for being here. You're in for a treat. Adele has managed recruitment companies, she's recruited, she's trained, she's been in the industry, I think a year longer than me now, and has got a great amount of knowledge, and she shares it in such a lively and friendly and knowledgeable way. So Adele, thank you very much, and looking forward to hearing you talk about why job ads are not working in this current market. Over to you, Adele.
Lovely. Thanks very much for the intro, Tony, and welcome everyone. I'm assuming everyone can see the screen I'm sharing and can see and hear me. So pop any comments in the chat if you're having any troubles with that. I love to see your cameras on, so feel free to leave cameras on, but mute yourself. It just makes me feel like I'm not in a room by myself talking to a black dot. As a recruiter, you get that. I'm meeting some love guys, so feel free to turn cameras on. I understand if you can't. And hello to those of you I can see in a boardroom all together. I think that's Davidson. Hi. Nice to see you all together. Very good. So welcome everybody. And yeah, we're going to go through a whole lot of content. I try to jam pack this and I try to move pretty quickly through it. There's not often a lot of chance to ask questions, although I do pause and try and invite some comment where possible in the conversation. But please put any questions in the chat. I have allowed some time at the end to answer questions and have some open conversation. You've got in the room a whole great room of brain power in terms of recruitment knowledge and experience, and I know that we're all prepared to share that, keeping confidentialities intact as well, of course, given there's competitors in the room I'm aware of. But thanks for joining me this morning. We're going to tackle this topic of why our job ads are not working, and I'm assuming all of you are here because you answered that question and went, yes, for me, not working. What am I going to do about it? Why am I spending so much money? Why am I placing more and more jobs? And I'm working with an agency at the moment who are placing the same job, repeating, posting the same job. And if some of you are doing that too, you must be bashing your head against a brick wall like these guys were, which prompted me to do this presentation. So, you know, I want to try and avoid that where we can. We want to do this well, do it wisely. Let's jump in. All right. I'm just going to, oh, there we go. I couldn't go back from screen to my presentation. We're going to start with a bit of a history lesson, guys, and many of you are experienced recruiters. You've been in the industry. Usually, I'm glad to say there's usually still someone in the room that's been in the industry longer than me. I'm thinking that might still be the case, but as I get older and older, I start to be the oldest, most experienced recruiter in the room. Oh, hi, Evelyn. Thanks for acknowledging. I hope so. I hope that there's somebody who's in my vintage at least, or perhaps trumps me. So welcome, and you'll remember some of what I'm going to talk about here. For some of you who are newer, some of this might be new information. Let's just go on a little bit of a journey. I like to start back and bring you forward. So the history lesson is about the word advertisement. Comes from a French word, advertir, which means to notice. So early job ads were about attracting attention. We were trying to get noticed by trying to advertise something. And that applies obviously for marketing of products, not just job ads. So advertising was about getting noticed. Has anyone seen the best job ad in history? The best job ad in history ever. I'm going to show it to you. It's this one. Men wanted for hazardous journey, low wages, bitter cold, darkness, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition in event of success. This was an advert, a real advert, put in the paper. It wasn't on a post, on a poll like that. There's a bit of creative license there, but this was Shackleton, who was trying to put together a band of men to go on a ship down to Antarctica, without the option of returning potentially, depending on how that went. And so this is called the most successful ad because he was really honest, and the story goes such, and I don't know if it's urban legend, he got about 5,000 men who showed up. At the time the ship was due to leave. He didn't need that many, of course. He picked and chose the ones that he was going to take along. It was an unsuccessful voyage. I believe the ship was damaged. I believe they did survive, though. They were picked up, and most of the crew survived and were picked up by another ship. So that one's, from a humorous perspective, considered the most successful ad, because you imagine if we said that. Imagine if we told the real details of an ad of like that. You might not come back. Thankfully, most of the jobs we're recruiting haven't got that kind of danger. And if you think about the history of job advertising, of how things were marketed and advertised, you had, I've got some samples here of essentially conscription type advertising that was done, pre and post war. Step into your place and join the war effort. People who came back from war seeking work, like the guy with the sign around his neck there. And even these public employment officers, that picture down in the bottom left-hand corner is in the 20s and 30s after the Depression. This is how jobs were advertised. Thankfully, no one on the call, even Evelyn and myself, are not old enough to remember that. But that's how things started, maybe. Maybe. But they posted jobs like this in the window, and people wandered by. And so it was very much recruitment by timing and place, if you think about it, right? It was about being in the right place at the right time. And if you even think about really ancient kind of recruitment methods, think about, gladiators in Roman times and Greek times, right? They would pull these people off the street. Gladiators were often homeless people who had no family, and they picked them up off the street and trained them as gladiators and then put them in the ring with a lion because nobody cared if they got killed, right? Pretty sad state of affairs there. But that's recruitment at its very early stages, right? It was time and place. You're there, you see the job, you get the job. Okay, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Those candidates that show up get the job. The rest of you, forget about it. We'd love that. So this is kind of that early history of how recruitment started and advertising itself. And then for the first 50 years of this current century, advertising is cost per word. Who remembers that? I definitely remember that. So you place an ad in the paper and you paid, yeah, Anastasia, you had to pay per word, per line, right, to do the advert, right? So how clever were we team ladies that are agreeing with me there, or gents? We got so creative about the way we abbreviated things and the words that we used and the slashes, because every word had a cost to it. Okay. We should put that fine on some people who use too many words nowadays, don't you think? Sometimes people are too wordy. We should go back to putting a cost per word on their ad writing. And then we moved on, obviously, to the job board. The job board saved us, right? Isn't that true? The job board saved us having to slice and dice all these ads down, and we could advertise whatever we want. But I say, or did they? Did the job ad save us? What is the job board advertising model that we're currently in? I haven't got Seek listed there, but I've got some of the other ones there. What has that created for us? Think about it. This is a kind of common job. This is a common position description, but what we end up now with the job board market, where we can put unlimited words, we can put a full job description, but that's often what we get. Look at that on the left-hand side. That's a common job description. The company, description of the job, tasks, qualifications, any additional requirements. We're used to seeing hundreds of those every day, right? But now people are using that as an advert, or have been using that as an advert, because now we've got unlimited size and space. Okay? But job descriptions, many of you will know, they were created as legal documents. They were created as a means of measuring performance, managing somebody, and potentially firing somebody. That's the purpose of a job description. It's actually not a marketing document. It's not an advertising document. It was never designed to be used to attract the person to the job. So if you're taking a PD and posting it as an advert, you're making a big mistake there. It's the equivalent of, in real estate, it's equivalent of advertising a job for advertising a house with the mortgage documents, with the Section 32. Okay, post the Section 32 and let's see who's interested in this house, right? That's not going to sell it. They put the best foot forward in real estate. They put photos, they attract the person, and then you need to read the details, yes. And we need to be doing the same. What should we be doing to attract the person? And then, yes, the job description is an important part of that process, but that shouldn't be what you're using as bait. So if you're doing that, I challenge you today. I challenge you to look at your adverts if you're copy pasting out of a PD. And worse still, if it's your client's PD, because I'll tell you, most of them, pretty bad. Most of them use really old language, okay? Most of them haven't been updated for a really long time. these are some other common mistakes. Tony and I spoke about this before putting this together, and looking at all of the different horror stories and things that have and do go wrong with job advertising. You know, typos is obviously a really obvious one. How's that one? Recruitment coordinator will assist in the day-to-day ruining of the team. That might be true. That might actually be the job, perhaps. Okay, so obviously typos and mistakes. It seems so obvious, but how many do we see? Who still sees typos and spelling mistakes on adverts? Who still notices that now? Right? Come on. Yeah. Spell check and proof. Like, there's no excuse. I'm sorry. There's no excuse for a typo. You should read and read and read and repost and get someone else to have a look at it for you. Okay. Obscure or company specific job titles is another mistake we see. So those of you that are pulling the job title from the PD that your client gives you and posting it on your advert, and it's something very explicit or obscure or specific to that client, you're doing a disservice. We know about keyword searching. Candidates are searching via keywords. Does anyone know what a propulsion engineer is? Anyone want to venture a guess on that one? That one threw me. I was like, what the hell is this? I'm going to go look it up. SF module expert. Anyone know what that is? PPC data mine specialist. That one you could kind of work out. We've got new IT recruiters on the line. Some of these are more IT. They're sometimes the obscure ones, okay? But what is the role actually doing? What you're supposed to do as a recruiter is understand what is this job? And more importantly, in the marketplace, what will candidates look for? What is the key word that people are going to search for? SF is an abbreviation. Are they going to look for the abbreviation? Is it a common abbreviation? SAP, for example, as a system is a common abbreviation used. So you've got to look at these things, okay? You've got to understand whether the title is relevant for the job out there in the marketplace. And if you don't know, you better go do some research. You better go and have a look and search that job title yourself and see what else you can find out there. Too little or too much information. This is also what we see as horror stories. So on the left-hand side, sorry, O'Leary Roofing. And if any of you are in New South Wales and can contact, and that's your space, tradespeople, contact O'Leary Roofing, because this is their real ad from a couple of nights ago. It literally says, family-oriented business looking for a tradesman, car and fuel included, competitive hourly rate, work all over Sydney. It's 4 lines, right? Might appeal to that tradesperson. I don't know. It might be an effective ad for what they're looking for. But man, big waste of space. That was on Seek. They may have spent $200, $300, $400 on that ad for 4 lines. $100 a line they spent there. Think about that. Okay. We know they're not getting responses. When we write very exciting and interesting and fancy ads, we're struggling to get response. That one's probably a bit of a dud, I'd say. So as I said, anyone who wants to go and chase that one, O'Leary Roofing, New South Wales, is not going to have any candidates. But that's too little information, right? That's not enough for the candidate to know about the organisation or what they're doing or what it means, okay, what the role's about, or too much information. And I hate to say, I've got some examples. Now, I never pick on recruitment agencies because I don't do that to our own. So don't be fearful, anyone, what I'm about to press on in Seek. I've looked for examples of employers direct, but in my experience, it's too much information. Oh, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. My link. It's not going to work because it's in my browser. Hold on one second, guys. Too much information can be just as damaging as too little, right? We see that. And I think that's what we're often guilty of. Again, as I said, we think about the fact that we've got all of this space now. It's not timed. It's not costed by word anymore. And so we go, oh, we've got this luxury. We can put as much information as we'd like in there. But sometimes it's too much information, or it could be the spacing. So this is Transport for New South Wales. Again, if that's your client, maybe give them some help. But look at this. Look how long the content of this ad is. This is on a computer screen. Imagine what that looks like on a mobile. Right? Now, the ad might not be bad. It's the spacing. Can you see that? This has got double spacing under salary benefits, and then it goes back to single spacing under the We Are the Community. Okay, so this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. It's too long. The other example, I won't jump into that one, but that's similar, right? It's not about spacing. It's just got so much wording. Both of those examples, I think, are government examples. That's what I find. They often are the worst culprits. Yeah, they literally are just copy pasting everything in the PD or the job description, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff they want to say. So think about, you know, what is the right mix of information. We're going to talk about the content of the ads as well in a minute. So what I'm trying to say in this presentation, we've done a little bit about the history of why things are the way they are and some of the examples of some of that bad. But I want to talk to you about how to improve that. And it isn't just about ad writing, but we're going to talk about that as well. But there's a whole lot of other things I want you to consider in that idea of trying to attract people. And this is a recent stat from ARI, the Australian Human Resources Institute. Now it's almost at 90. It used to be 70%. It's close to 90 now. % of people are viewing adverts on their mobile device. And in most cases, I'm saying our adverts are not maximized. And I'm not talking about your website. I'm not talking about it visually sitting in the right spot on their phone. I'm talking about the fact that that's too much information to be scrolling down. Okay, too much. They're scrolling down. It's already too long on a screen. Imagine how long it is on their phone. Okay, and also compare that. So put yourself in your candidate's shoes, where everything now is very much driven by video and reels and you know, TikToks, and everything is these short, sharp bits of information delivered to them. Our attention spans are reducing, and then they've got to sit and read 17 paragraphs of your ad visually compared to other social media that they're looking at on that device. It's very draining. It's not appealing at all. Okay, so we've really got to get better at this, and we've got to move faster. These things I'm telling you guys, you already know, right? Some of you are already using video advertising. Some of you are already trying to change up the way you're attracting candidates' attention. Okay, some I know are doing that, but majority of our industry is not. We need to move that along. I've got some details here about the 2021 job seeker. This is information we know about what currently is going on in the market, and most of you will attest to this. I don't even need a survey. This stuff you'll all go, yep, agree. Okay, so they want current, authentic, and relevant information. Authentic is the key word in that point there. Okay, more than ever now, people are deciphering what is fake, what is bullshit, what is real. Okay, more than ever. So they want current, they want it authentic, they want it to be relevant to what they're looking for. They really want to know who they'll work for, who they'll work with. It's really important more than ever to the job seeker that they understand who the company is and the kind of people that work there, their real personality. Okay, and I think, again, we're really good at doing this sometimes for ourselves, but we're not great at conveying that about the client. And some of that's because we're trying to not release the name of the company. I get that. But you want to try and capture as much as you can without having to give away any of the detail if you're not giving away who the client is that you're working with. So who are they going to be working for? Why would they want to work there? What's so great about that place? You know, again, you know all of this, but why are we still not doing it? Why do our ads allow one line that just says dynamic workplace, you know, with a ping pong table or something so benign, right? Doesn't really tell the person. Don't laugh at me, Tony. You know, why are we not telling the person the real details about the kind of people they're working with, right? We know that because we've met the person, we've been to the site, we've understood about their market, okay, or their industry or their workplace. So you know that information. Put some real personality and the real details into that. They want to assess the work environment as part of culture. Okay, think about that. So culture is lots of things. We know that. It's obviously the people that work there, the behaviors, the rules, the way things are done, you know, how people treat each other, how they're seen and their reputation in the market. But very much so, the current job seeker also assesses the work environment as an indicator of that culture. So saying that you're modern and progressive, but not understanding, as we know, that the job market now wants to work in a hybrid model or work from home or have flexibility is a big deal breaker for a lot of candidates. We're coming across that every day, right? So understanding the work environment and how they're going to work is an assessment of culture for the candidate. Don't underestimate that. Okay, so talk to your clients about this as well. And video or mobile job profiles can be shared on social media. Your candidates want to get their mate's opinion about whether they should apply for a job. They want to send the ad on, and that's good for you too, because it gets your ad in front of someone else. Maybe the mate's also a good candidate as well, but they want to get this social proofing. What do people think? How many people have looked at this? Has it been liked? How many views? Who watches a video or sees a thumbnail for a video and sees how many people have viewed it and then watches it because you go, oh, like, 5,000 people have viewed this. I'm going to see what this is about, or 17,000 have viewed this. Yeah. It makes you want to see it because other people have been there before you. The same thing's happening with your job ads if they are mobile video ready that can be shared that way. They're certainly not posting on your job description, your 17 paragraph job description. They're not forwarding that on to anybody. Compelling advertising is about being seen in the noise. So if your job ads are not working, the first thing I want to do is help you fix your job ads. That's what this presentation's about. So one, it's if you're going to advertise, let's do it bloody well. I'm going to give you more tips and tricks around that. I'm also going to talk to you about how not to advertise as well, because that may be the solution. If your ad is not working, then stop trying to do that. We know that's the definition of insanity, right? Keep on doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome. Why would we keep doing that? But just think about being seen. This is Times Square. Anyone been to New York? Stood there in Times Square? If you've stood there where this photo is taken or anywhere where those people are, you will know what I'm talking about here. It is a total assault to your senses. Unlike any other place in the world, that one spot, not just the whole city, that one spot, you stand there and you cannot believe the noise and the color and the smells and it's a complete assault to your senses. You walk away from standing in Times Square and you often feel drained, right? How do you stand out? Look at that. Look at all the advertising. Look at all the color. Look what's going on. That's essentially what's going on a job board. Think about it. Job boards now are Times Square on steroids. That's what you're doing. You're just trying to go, look at me, look at me, look at me, right? And you can't be seen in that. You can't be seen amongst the noise if everything looks the same, if it all blends into one color. That's what's happening for candidates as well. So writing compelling adverts, if you're going to advertise, if you're going to spend the money, then do it well. And Seek and others won't mind me saying that, right? I'm saying to you, don't advertise if you can't do it well. They won't mind me saying that either. They want good quality on their sites and they train around this, right? You've probably all done, the Seek training, but we're still writing shit adverts. That's the bit I don't get, right? So please, from today, think about what I'm saying. Take one piece of this and go and make a change to your adverts. What's the best advert you've ever seen, read, or heard? I've got a little example I'm going to talk about there. Would anyone like to unmute now and share with me an advert that they consider the best they've ever seen, read, or heard? What's an advert that you remember? What's something memorable? Please, if anyone would like to share, I'm happy to. I've got an example ready to go, as I said, but if anyone wants to give me one, I'd love that. No one's brave enough? No one's going to share an ad. There's plenty, right? I know you're thinking of one. I want you to think about the ad that you weren't brave enough to tell me. Think about the ad that stays in your memory. Okay. Think about the one that you recall, that you laugh about, maybe you cry about, you hate it, whatever it might be.
I like the one of the little girl in the airport. I think it's Qantas, and she's running through the airport, really happy and joyful. She wants to get on that plane. I like that ad. It makes me remember the airline.
Makes you remember the airline. And Evelyn, thank you for sharing that. How does it make you feel when you see it? Does it evoke a memory?
Makes me feel happy.
Happy, yeah.
Because she's singing and dancing and her arms are flying in the air.
We're all waiting to do that, aren't we? We're all waiting to
and I'm sure that ad has to grab extra passengers because of that.
Excellent. Thank you for that example. And the point I'm trying to make about it is that it evokes an emotion. Okay. Good advertising. If you think about general advertising, I'm moving away from jobs ads for a second here. Just come with me on this journey. If you think about good general advertising, it evokes an emotion. Okay. So if you go to an ad agency, if you have a product, okay, and you say, this is my product, and you go to an ad agency, the first thing they're going to say to you is, who's going to buy the product and what do we want to say to them? Right? That's how ad campaigns work. Who's going to buy this and what do we want to say? And then that's going to shape the way they advertise that particular product. So this example I've got in the back here is the Carlton draft. There's 2 ads there. There's one called the big ad, which is the bigger photo on the left. That's the last big scene of the ad. Or actually, it's the second last scene. The last one is the cold glass of beer with the water dripping down the side of the glass. And the one on the right is their current ad that's on TV at the moment. Now, their advertising is they've really sat down and gone, what is the product? Okay, it's beer. And who's going to buy it? They've decided that's men around that kind of 25 to 35 mark. Now, when you see the advertising, that's all you see in the advert, right? That's all you see are the kinds of people that are going to buy the drink. Right? The one on the right, as I said, is a current one. It's slowed down. So they say men, if you remember this one, that men are slowed down. They look better when they're in slow motion is the ad. It's a bit funny. It's supposed to be a bit funny and quirky, but it's supposed to be relatable to the people that are buying it. Conversely, there's another beer commercial on at the moment, which shows, you might have seen this, waiters bringing the drink to the table. There's a guy and a girl sitting at the table. They bring a cocktail and a beer. They put the beer in front of the guy, they put the cocktail in front of the woman, and she looks at the waiter and she switches them, right? And then she sips the beer and he does it on another table, right? This is going on. That beer is trying to say, women drink us. It's a beer we're aiming at women. So they've done that on purpose. They're saying it might look like guys are ordering beers in bars, but it's the women guys, women people that are ordering it. They're putting their customer in the ad. That's what they do. That's a very base level way to advertise. Put the person that's going to buy the product in the advert. Okay? Or someone that relates to it. Evelyn wants to take her family on a plane. That little girl maybe reminds her of her children or her grandchildren, right? I want to get on a plane. So there's evoking that emotion there. So I want you to just think like an ad agency for a minute when you're ad writing. That's where I'm taking you on this journey. I'm wanting you to think about your favorite ad and think about the emotion it evokes. Now that you might go, oh, geez, big budget. I don't have tens of thousands of dollars to make a TV commercial, and I'm not advertising a job that way. I get that. I understand it's not the same format. I'm trying to get you to understand that it can be the same process. Okay? It starts with understanding, who am I trying to speak to? Who am I trying to reach? And what do I want to say to them? That's where compelling advertising starts. Okay. So as I say here, like a good marketing campaign, good advertising must grab attention, invoke an emotion, move or create a call to action, certainly provide information in what we do. We're often providing information, obviously, about the employer, and it will also build your brand. It's like a lens. It's taking a closer view on something. That's what good advertising is doing. And now I'm talking, as I said, general product advertising there, but think about applying this to your job ad. Think about saying, well, who is the candidate I'm trying to attract? And writing the ad appropriately, just the same way you would if you were trying to sell a beer or a chocolate or an airline, right? Whatever it is, who is going to buy this product? Who is going to want to apply for this job? And how am I going to reach them? And what do I want to say to them? So you have to break it down further, right? In order to do that, you need to understand who you're writing for. You need to understand what you want to say to that person or people that you're trying to attract. So that's things around the demographic. And again, ad agencies do this. If they don't know, if you come to them and say, I've got my pods here, right? This is my product. And they say, well, who's going to buy it? And you go, I'm not sure. It could be pretty broad. I don't know who my market is for this. They'll go and do market research, right, for you. And they'll say, okay, we've decided that the key market for your product is 15 to 25-year-olds. That's the demographic. They're people actually who are working at least part-time because these are expensive. They're people that, are on the move because they want to be able to listen to think, whatever. They'll give you the demographic. But we know that. We don't need to do market research because you're already going, who's the person likely to be appropriate for this job? You're thinking that the minute the client gives you the brief, as they're telling you about the job, you experienced recruiters are going through your mental Teledex of going, they need to have this, they need to have that, they need to have this, they need to come from this background, this industry. You're asking those questions of the client. So what's the demographic of the candidate? What will appeal to them? What is it about your job that's going to appeal? Use emotive language. There's nothing wrong with putting some real words in an advert. Please, I beg you, stop using these old-fashioned terms. I don't even know where they came from. I'm guilty of them too, right? Terms that come from a job description, mandatory. Whoever says mandatory in real life, seriously, who walks around and goes, it's mandatory I have lunch today, right? Nobody says that. We don't use that word. It's a legal term. And yet, how many times do we say that? It's mandatory to have this or desirable to have this, right? We don't speak like that. So don't write like that. Please read your ad and then Stacey's laughing at me, but it's true, right? Use more emotive language. What I mean by emotive language is think about how you're going to draw the person in. The beer commercials emotive language, as I said, is that money shot. They call it the money shot right at the very end of the commercial. That both of those commercials don't show beer at all, except at the very end, the money shot of the cold glass of beer with the condensation dripping down the outside. It makes you thirsty. So did you see that shot? Right? You go, oh, I've got to go and drink something, and they hope that that's a beer. Okay, so that's their emotive language in a TV commercial, right? In ours, it's words, it's real words. We're saying things about the organization that make it attractive. We're talking about the office. We're talking about the people they work with. We're talking about the clients they get to work with. We're talking about the purpose of the work. Come and join this organization, making a real difference to people with disabilities, changing people's lives, right? Now, some of you might go, oh, that's a little bit fluff, right? But that's the stuff that evokes people's emotions. Even in our industry, have you heard people say that's what we do? Recruiters change people's lives. That's our job. Did you know that? You're a life changer. That's your new job title. I want to see that on your LinkedIn account from now on, right? I'm a recruiter. I'm a life changer, right? But what it does, it's emotive. It stops you. What do I mean, a life changer? Not life saver, right? We're not doctors. We're life changers, right? But think about the emotion that you can evoke by the candidate by the right kinds of words. Think about describing. If I ask you to describe the client office for the job you're recruiting now, you're not going to say it's got walls and a ceiling and some lights and there's desks that are white, right? That's not how we describe it. And yet that's kind of how we're describing the job. You would go and say the office has got beautiful natural light and lots of green or shared space and has a warm feeling that evokes great conversation, lots of conversation spaces, or you know what I mean? Like you're describing it in much more emotive terms. If I asked you to describe a space, that's the kind of language I'm talking about in your adverts. And the WIFM, of course, I mean, that's a given, right? What's in it for me? What's in it for them? You have to tie that in and put that earlier, please. Put that at the top. Switch the formula around. I'm going to go and show you the formula in a minute. Oh, God. I'm going to go past the slide. There we go. This is the ad writing formula. Most of you will remember this. We were all trained on this. This was how we were told. This is what you've got to write an ad. This is how you write an ad, okay? Those of you who've done my training, you know you've seen this before. But it's one step further. It's one step further than just writing those 5-6 paragraphs. You've got to challenge yourself a bit more using some of this other stuff I'm talking about, okay? What is it about the company and why they would like to work there? So not just, you know, an engineering firm. Why? Why would the candidate want to work there? And if you don't know the answer to that, you need to ask your client, right? Why do they work there? Ask your client contact. Why do you work here? You know, ask the owner. Why do people like working for you? What is it about working in your organization that attracts people, makes them stay? So it's the why much more, right? We all know Simon Sinek said it's about the why. Why do people want to work there? Talk about the company. Certainly you need to give some information about the role, of course, but more importantly, what candidates want to know is what the role will do for their career. How is this role going to help them in their career journey? What milestone is this touching? Which stepping stone does this provide? Okay, so about the role, yes, but don't just copy paste the PD here. If you're doing that again, you're doing a disservice. Bullet points are fine, don't get me wrong, but what is it about the role that the person will really want to know that will help them advance their career? What are the skills needed? What they need to be successful? Yes. So you need to sometimes stipulate, you need to have, a qualification here, or you need to have experience in this particular program, or you need to have done this sort of work before, you need to have managed this sort of project, right? So what are the skills that are needed? And then what do they need to be considered? And this is where we get into the softer transferable skills. And this is the area that we need to focus on much more greatly with our clients and with our candidates right now, because we know it's tough, right? Recruiting the old way, and those of you who've been through a cycle will know what I'm saying here. It goes in ebbs and flows, right? We've been through this before. We've had to go through the candidate-driven cycle, but this is unlike any other one. Those of you that have been through several cycles will know what I'm saying. This is a candidate-driven market unlike anything we've ever seen before in my 25 years, certainly, right? It's about what the candidate can bring, the potential, the soft skills, those transferable skills. If we're looking for cookie cutter, perfect. I saw a post this morning on LinkedIn. A recruiter said, "Dear Mr. Client, you're looking for the perfect candidate. They don't exist. Thank you very much. Goodbye." Like it was just, stop asking us to find something that doesn't exist. Work with us to find the solution to your problem. We all know that. That's how we work as recruiters. But more so than ever in this market, you've got to push with the client about those soft transferable skills, and certainly tell the candidate, attract those candidates, because you may not find the perfect one. The WIFM, real benefits with detail, I'm saying here for the WIFM, right? Don't say real career progression unless you have an example. Don't say training opportunities unless you actually can back that up. The candidates, sick of seeing, they've become buzzwords, guys. Candidates see them on every ad. Go back and have a look and check off the WIFM on every ad. It all sounds the same. Get real about this. If the client is actually providing training, regular training, or they support training, what does that actually mean? How much do they spend per annum per head on training? Can the candidate choose their own courses? Can the candidate use that budget themselves and stuff that they're interested in developing skill in, right? If the client's saying, "Oh yeah, we're really supportive of training," what does that actually mean? Ask the client more information and put that detail in the job, because your candidate's not getting turned on by, dynamic environment, supportive of training, great career progression. It's all buzz now. They don't believe it anymore. We've said it too many times. You have to have the real detail there. And if you've got fewer of them because you've got more detail, better, right? If the only thing they really actually do is provide training support, then just focus on that one. Don't make up the others to make it sound better. And the call to action, we know this, got to move them out of their chair. And man, they're hard to move. They're harder to move than ever, right? They're harder to move. But if you're not compelling them, if you're not tying in that emotion, if you're not speaking to the person, you're never going to get them out of their chair to apply. And I hate to say, applying is all still too hard. Those of you that have been in these sessions with me before, the last one we did about sourcing candidates, I talked about how bloody hard we make it to apply. If you don't know how hard it is to apply, go and do it. Take that tip away from me today. Go and apply to one of your own jobs and see how painful it is. Right? We still got it wrong. We're still asking them to fill in all the same stuff we know that's on their resume. Yes, our websites are at fault. I know this, but fix it. Fix it and get them to be able to easy apply, or they're never going to get up out of their chair and do it. Worst advert mistakes. I'm coming back to this. Some ones I've seen more recently. I mentioned this: jargon or overused words, highly regarded. Who says that? Show me one person in real life that ever says the words that's very highly regarded, right? Unless you're from the 18th century. Mr. Darcy might have said that in Pride and Prejudice, right? We don't talk like that anymore. Why are they still? That's in today's ad. Go and look on Seek right now. Highly regarded is all over the place. Mandatory, and you know the terms I'm talking about, guys, right? You know what I'm talking about. Go back and read your ad and filter it for the ancient words, right? Filter it for old worldness, right? And bring it to the real. What does highly regarded mean? Right? If you don't know the meaning, go look that up and get a thesaurus Those of you that are too young for that, you go, what the hell is she talking about? You can search for words and get alternate meanings, right? It's a book called A Thesaurus. We used to have a book. It's now on the internet. All right. No salary drives candidates crazy. We know this. Sometimes we can't put it. I know that. I understand why we don't put it, but do it at your own peril. If it's got no salary or no, think about it. Are you going to apply for a job and you don't know if it's got a salary? How many times have you looked at a job and gone, sounds interesting, wonder what they'll pay? Can't be bothered. Next. All right. Be clever about this. Put a range if you have to, but do no salary at your own peril, because you're going to miss candidates. They're chasing the money now, guys. We know this. Put it front and center. Tell them how much they're going to get paid, especially if the client's willing to pay properly for it. Put it front and center. Location or work flexibility. This is a top of the list at the moment. Okay. Top of the list. Where is the job, or what kind of flexible arrangements? Am I working from home? Right? I saw a job ad the other day and it said, required to come into the office, required to work in the office full time, except under COVID conditions where you'll be required to work from home or as directed as per. That's dumb, isn't it? Like, why would you even put that in the ad, right? I don't get the purpose of that. Are they saying now you can work from home, but then you'll have to come in? Maybe that's what they're trying to say. There's a better way to say that, right? Actually, you're having to allow a hybrid situation. So put that in, right? Most employers are having to. If they're in the office right now because they're under, they're working as essential services, or you're in a part of the country that you don't have restrictions, then you don't need to worry about it. Don't say that. You don't need to state that when it's COVID's there that you're going to have to work from home. That's a given. We know that. We all know that. We've been through this. We've been around the merry-go-round once. Don't state that, yeah? And no contact information or any chance to ask questions or follow up, right? Now, I know a lot of people will say candidates don't want to ring now, or they don't want to take your call. I know that, right? I know that they're not wanting to speak to us anymore. They all want to text. They all want to know everything on email before they even bother to have a conversation. But you don't want to cut off that. We don't want to perpetuate that, people. We don't want to give the situation where there's nowhere to contact anyone, no way to ask any questions. If you've got no salary and no contact, they're not going to apply, because I can't even ring you to say, hey, listen, I'm interested in your job, but I want to just suss out. I'm currently on 100,000. Are they going to pay that? Okay, this is our industry. We should have the doors open. So if you're putting no contact information on an ad because you go, I don't want to be called, I'm sorry, wrong job. You're in the wrong job. We want to be called. That's what we do. Okay, so I challenge you on that. If you're saying, I don't want to be called. All right, put contact information and makes it more friendly. Yeah. Toys, hiring, low pay, bad hours, jerk boss, apply now. That's almost like what we're doing. We're saying the ad is so shit, the job is so shit, but apply now, right? I'm just having a bit of tongue in cheek with that image, right? But that's sometimes what I'm seeing. All right, I want you to think about some stats, some data. Those of you that are data driven, ponder this data. Don't get lost. Just walk with me for a sec. You don't need to have good math. Just walk with me. 53% of the population in Australia is aged between 25 to 64 currently. Okay, this is ABS stats. 53% of us roughly are what they call work age, right? We're in the working age. 14 million people, that is, in Australia. Currently, there are about 4.4 million people with a disability, of which the stats tell us from Disability Australia, about 50% can't actually work at all. So I'm taking out 2.2 million out of that. So technically, there's an available workforce in Australia at any given time, and I know this ebbs and flows, of 11 million people in the workforce. There's approximately 7,000 recruitment agencies. That equates, divide those numbers, it equates to 1,685 people on each of your databases. We know there's many more than that, right? Who's got thousands, tens of thousands on their database, right? If you've been in business 10 years, you've got thousands and thousands of people on your database right now sitting here. So I'm saying to you, if your ads are not working, I want to ask you this question. The candidates that you need potentially are already known to you. They're already on your database. If there's only a total pool of 11 million, probably collectively just with us in this room, we've probably got all of them on our database at some point or another. Think about that for a second. Could we pull all our databases? Oh, that's scary. Imagine that. Yes, there's people on there that are gone. There's people that are no longer available. People have left the country. I get that. Databases, it's not 100% what's on your database is available to you. But I just want to challenge that thought that you even have to advertise at all. The candidates you need to know are already on your database. You need to assess differently, maybe interview differently, engage differently. You're sitting there saying, I've already done them. I've already assessed them. They're not good. It's a different market, people. It's a different market. And that candidate you assessed 2 years ago who wasn't right now has 2 years more experience. Maybe they are right. I'm challenging you. I'm challenging you on the regular way we think, okay? Advertising is something that we've gotten used to doing, and it's produced results till now. And now it's not producing results. And now I'm seeing a whole generation of recruiters going, oh, what do I do now? The ad doesn't work. And this is what I'm saying is what we do. We go back old school. It's on your database, okay? You've got to look at soft skills and potential over experience and qualifications. We know that. We are good at looking at the candidate as a whole and going, they could do the job, but you have to get good at influencing your client. That's where good recruiters are surviving the current market and poor ones are falling off. Because they're going, oh, well, I sent the candidate across and they're kind of 80% there. And I told the client it'd be really good to hire them on potential, but the client just replied by email and said, no, thanks. Okay, I've got to find somebody else. That's what inexperienced recruiters are doing right now. They're going, I put something up and it was wrong and I'll just find another one. Good recruiters are saying, hang on a minute. I put that person up for a very specific reason. And I want to discuss that with you. They're using influencing skills. And if you think you can influence over an email, good luck to you. Good luck to you. I've never, ever seen anybody that persuasive in their writing skills that they could convince somebody to do something over an email. This is old school recruitment, people. This is telephone. This is video. This is face-to-face. You have to talk to people to influence. You cannot influence on an email, okay? So this is where good recruiters are still making placements right now because they're talking to the client about the candidate's soft skills. They're talking to the client about potential. I just came off a training course this morning and we were discussing the feedback from a client who says they're not a culture fit. Okay, that's a common one we get, right? 100 times a day, candidate's not a culture fit. I challenge you on this one, people. Culture fit, when a client says that to you, what they're saying is, there's a reason I don't want to hire the person and I don't want to tell you. You know, package it all up and call it culture fit. You need to ask I'll give you this little free little sidetracking, but I'll give you this free little advice. When a client says to you, they're not a culture fit, ask 2 more questions. What element of your culture are you referring to and how did you assess that? If they are genuinely not a culture fit, they will have asked a question about it and assess the person appropriately. What you're actually getting is, I don't like the way that person looks, or I'm uncomfortable with them, or I don't like the color of their hair or their shoes or their skin. And I'm not going to tell you that. I'm just going to say they don't fit in here. We all like to go out on Friday night and have drinks and that person seems a bit old. That's an opinion. Okay? That's not a culture fit. Did you actually ask the person what their hobbies and pastimes and how they like to spend their free time? Did you ask them about how they fit into a culture like that? Did they actually assess it, or are they assuming? So culture fit is hiding unconscious bias, or conscious bias actually in this case. So anyway, I digress. Soft skills and potential, use your influencing skills if you're trying to make placements. I'm talking about giving the 2020 pass. What I mean by that is things that happened in 2020 for all of us were abnormal, including poor candidates who lost their jobs and took shit jobs in between. Give people a break. Tell your clients that. Okay. I referred a girl yesterday who did 3 jobs in 2020. The client said to me, oh, she's jumped around a bit. Prior to that, she worked 4 years for one company. Yes, she jumped around a bit because nobody would give her a bloody job and keep her. She was struggling to put food on the table. For God's sake, let's get, like we all went through this. How quickly we forget, right? Not even a year ago in 2020. So give the 2020 pass. Give them a free pass, I'm saying, for what went on with 2020. Not blanket. not people who got fired and did the wrong thing. We know how to delve into that. But I'm saying you're going to have to educate the client around what went on. Remind them. They've already forgot what happened in 2020. It was hard. People lost their jobs. People took shit jobs. People went backwards in their career. And then when a better job came along, they quit that job and they took the better job. You'd do the same. Tell the client that. They would do exactly the same. All right, so give the 2020 pass. Candidates driving expectations, we know that. Working from home requirements, salaries, that's what's pushing and making it so hard to find candidates at the moment. We know that. So those stats that I'm saying, contact your candidates on your database, start at your database and don't even advertise. Right? I'd set a target. If I was back running GM in a recruitment agency right now, I would be setting a target with my teams around how many placements we can make without advertising. How many placements we're going to make from the database this month. Set a target around it. And you watch the teams attack the database as a result. Put a reward on it. Put a prize. Right? How many people can we place straight from our database? That's what I would be doing now in order to counteract what's going on in the market. And I put a couple of other ways to kind of attract people, I suppose. As I said, I'm trying to talk you out of, I tried to tell you if you're going to advertise, do it well, but otherwise look at other options of not advertising. Jobflare and NACAP are two, there's plenty of them, but these are two new tools that are out that help assess personal attributes using brain games. So this is that whole gaming thing. We've heard about that, the gamification, right, of job applications. These ones are pretty cool. So, for example, with Jobflare, you know, if you're in the hospitality space, they put you in a little cartoon restaurant and you've got to serve and you've got a customer over there unhappy and someone sending back their steak and they actually assess the candidates. It's kind of like a little trial in the job in a nice, safe place in a game, right? And it measures their reactions and all sorts of things, right? NACAP is a new one which is getting crowdfunding at the moment. So check out these things. Are there other things that we could do to find ways to assess those soft skills of a candidate rather than just what's on the piece of paper, what's on the resume? Yeah, so a couple of other options. I'm running close to time, Tony. I know I'm wrapping up here. Video, I've pushed that before. I know I'm a huge advocate about using video for all sorts of things because I think it's so much, better in today's market. As I said, our attention spans are shorter. It allows you to convey a lot more information more quickly. People can listen faster than they can read. Think about doing videos about your client, about their space, about their team, about the job. Okay, if you can't mention who it is, you're going to have to get creative about that. If you can video that and get them involved in that, please do that. Get it filmed by them on their side if you can, or about them if you're doing it, right? It's perfectly fine for you to talk about the client if you're able to and give that detail. If you can't, you've got to get creative about that. We know video improves our SEO. We know that videos rank much higher in searching for candidates. That's how you're going to get seen. Right? Job ads and Seek and paper advertising, and even Seek will tell you they've got a video element. You can add a video to your Seek ad right now, but you can add it to anywhere. But more importantly, people are going to watch it. Who watches videos on social media more than they're reading now, right? They're pushing us to that. They push us to watch it on video rather than scroll through and read and read and read. Even LinkedIn. There's a lot more video. Look at it even just a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, how many videos were on LinkedIn, right? With still a lot of images and wording. There is still that there, but look at how much video is on there now and they're ranking much higher, okay? I want to give you some other options for sourcing. I did a whole presentation last month with Tony. We did 32 unique sourcing techniques in the current market. I found more, Tony, believe it or not. We might have to rerun that. I'm more than 32 already. Reference checks should now be a source of candidate referrals. Right? We used to ring candidate reference checks and we'd say, so tell us about your business. How do you do your recruitment at the end? We're trying to get a client visit out of it. Your reference check now is, tell me about your career journey. What are you doing? How long have you been there? Poach the referee. I've got a colleague in the industry right now. She's made 2 placements in the last month. She placed the 2 candidates and then poached their referees and placed them as well. All right. I'm not joking you. This is a real example. That's where I got this one. She rang me and she goes, guess what happened to me? And I was like, bloody brilliant. That's what we should be doing. Talk to the referee. about what they're doing, whether they're in that industry as well, of course, and the right sort of skill sets, right? And to get referrals, I found out this yesterday. I know that Job Adder is a sponsor. If they're on the call, I did the webinar that you guys had with Barbara. I've forgotten her surname yesterday. It was excellent. I picked up so many tips. I'm sharing that one with the group here. We ask candidates for referrals, right? That's a common thing. Do you know anyone? Do you know anyone like you? Do you know anyone in the industry? Do you know? Right? We often ask that. And how many people say, oh, yeah, call Bob Smith, right? Never. Everybody sort of goes, oh, I'll have a think about it, or I don't know, I'm not sure, right? It's because they don't know you yet. They don't trust you. They're not going to give out names of people just yet. She suggested this as an alternative. Ask the candidate, who is the best, insert the job title, you've ever worked with? Who's the best team leader you've ever worked with? Now, that might be in their current employment. It might be in their previous employment. Chances are they're going to mention somebody by name, and they're going to tell you all about them. You just go find that person on LinkedIn. Oh yeah, where did you work with them? And why were they so good? And what, you know, you unpack it with them and make it an interview question. You've now got a lead. I thought that was brilliant. That was it. That was the takeaway I got from her. There were many, but that one I thought was really good. Stop saying, can you refer, do you know anyone? Start saying, who's the best that you know? They'll start dropping out names, okay? And maybe they'll say to you, oh yeah, actually call him. He might be looking for work. Drop my name. And then you can use that, okay? True talent acquisition is what we're looking for now. And this is what makes me laugh. I train, my business is about training rookies. I train new people into this industry. I create recruiters. I place them in recruitment. I tell them in my training, it makes me laugh. We call ourselves recruiters. We call this industry recruitment, and internal call themselves TA, talent acquisition. And it makes me laugh, people, because what we do is talent acquisition. What they do is recruitment processing. We all know this, right? What we do is true talent acquisition. We are acquiring, sourcing, finding talent. What they do is post a job ad, hope for the best, process anyone that applies, and then throw their hands up if they can't fill it, then come to us, hopefully. All right, so it makes me laugh. We're looking for true talent acquisition in the current market. You're sourcing as opposed to responding to adverts. As I said, this is why a lot of recruiters are struggling, because they're used to just placing an ad, getting 100 applications, off I go on my merry way. Right now, you're not getting that. So what else do I do? I've got to hunt. It's a different skill set. You've got to bring out that hunter. Think about meetups and candidate forums. We've got to give back to the candidate, get them engaged. Those of you that are, I mentioned to a company this morning, they're just still gone back to posting ads on social media. It's just an advert, an advert, an advert, an advert, right? You've got to go back to the content and give them other things other than the advert. Some of you are doing that brilliantly, by the way, but many have just gone back to the adverts. And I want to challenge this one. Think about this for a minute. Imagine treating every application like a client inquiry. What happens when a client calls your business right now and says, I'm interested, I've got a role I need to fill, I need to speak to somebody about helping me to do that? We jump, right? Oh my God, who's going to take the call? Who's the best salesperson? Give it to this person. Oh, right, let's get that, right? We go mental as soon as there's a potential client that calls in. Think about doing that with your candidates right now. That's how important they are. The last presentation I did was candidates are gold. I can't stress it enough. Think about treating, you don't have to jump and everyone jump in and get on the call. I get that, you've got to manage your resources, but treat candidates like the gold they are now. A candidate that calls in could be that next placement for you. Jump on it like you would a client inquiry. Challenge your thought, turn it around on this. All right, and my final word, I was asked to recap because, as Tony said, I put too much information. We're on the final slide. Thanks for your attention and coming on the journey with me. My final recap from today is write more compelling adverts. Speak to the person you're trying to attract. Think like an ad agency. Think about who you want to speak to. Write the ad for that person. Use real language. Rethink your sourcing and attraction methods, right? Start reducing the amount of advertising is not working. Don't keep bashing your head against a brick wall. Do it well, but look at all your other sourcing and attraction methods. Look at how people can get to you, how easy it is to find you and connect with you and speak to you. Connect with your network better. As I said, you may already have the best candidate. I challenge you on that. Try it. Try it for next month. right? We've got a new quarter. How many placements can we make straight from the database? No advertising, didn't come from an external source. You might surprise yourself. And think about using some of that new tech and tools, things like gaming, and making it more fun. I encourage you to think about how boring we are. We are so conservative. We call our clients that, but actually it's us. Our process is boring in most cases. We're not making it interesting. We're not making it easy. That's final word for me. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I hope that you picked up some interesting bits of information today, or at least I've challenged your thoughts around some of it. Hopefully we can all improve our ad writing. I'm getting the list and I'm going to look at all your ads for the next week. If anyone does want to connect with me, my contact details are on there. Thanks very much. Open for questions. Thank you.